Hello, and welcome back to the Audible Waters podcast. I am your host, Ralph Jesperson. This is the second part of a three-part series I am doing on dreams I have had related to what I believe God has shown me as a second civil war starting eventually in the USA. The first part of the series was about people who are actually training themselves to be terrorists, technically speaking, calling themselves with the label Christian militias. That dream is over 6 years old now, but I am still periodically having dreams on this theme of a new civil war. Today I share the most recent dream I have had that I thought worth sharing. So this is the absolute latest thing I can share at the time I'm making this video on any subject. There have been no notable dreams since this one, at least as of the date that I am making this video. This is about how the Civil War actually starts and some basic reality about the armed groups who will eventually become part of this. This is relevant for today as things recently have been moving in a direction where what I saw could happen sooner rather than later. For anyone to notice paying any attention at all to the current political dramas going on. And so, I think God is giving us hints at what to look for as far as an event or train of events that actually will start this off. So here it is in a form that you can read or listen to, or both.
On the night of August 12th, 2025, I had the following dream concerning the coming American Civil War II. I was inside a large auditorium filled with policemen and civilians. In this meeting, suddenly we were surrounded by a superior force, larger in size and better armed than us. They were controlled by a politician ruler of the opposite party. This began an armed standoff that lasted some time with our police all in the center of the room, surrounded by the other force that blocked all of the exits. The peace was broken finally when a few of the psychos and sociopaths on our side opened fire. They were all very quickly killed, even as not everyone on the other side returned fire. The rest of our side was not willing to fire on other Americans just for political rivalries, and they laid down their weapons when the firing started. Then the winning side came down and started to try to clean the situation up, picking up the dropped weapons and deciding what to do with the prisoners. Who in this bunch could and could not be trusted to keep the order even though the other party had just seized control by force? While that was still in process, suddenly a group that looked like well-armed militia from our side burst through one of the doors, starting a new standoff. This did not last long as one of their psychos pulled out a grenade and threw it as far as he could. It landed near to my viewpoint in this whole affair, not near anyone who was still armed, but right in the middle of pews along the back wall. There was only civilians there who had been observing the whole scene in shock. Was this all really happening? Then someone not in the militia yelled out to the people there to run and get out of there, but no one moved. They all had this deer-in-the-headlights look and were in shock and denial. I thought I was a safe distance away from the grenade, but I started backing up just in case. When the grenade was thrown, time appeared to slow down to a crawl. No one knew if it was live with pin pulled, or still had the pin in it, or was a practice stud. I started to wonder if I should turn and run, and then I woke up in the middle of this scene wondering if one of our own side's militia had really thrown a live grenade, not at the rival force, but into the stands of our own civilians.
Now, what would this all mean if you think that this was a message from God, which is, by the way, something you do not have to believe? It is a matter for your own discernment. I suspect it is an outline of how the Civil War will actually start, whenever that happens. It will start when a politician sends the military in to have a showdown with the police of a city run by the opposite party. Does that sound familiar? Has something like that already been happening? A corrupt, malignant, narcissistic, egotistical, and senile leader ordering the military not overseas against our enemies, but using it bizarrely on our own land. The police are trained and try to keep order with the minimal, absolutely necessary use of force. The military, however, are trained to use maximum force in order to protect their fellow soldiers from harm. These two groups are not interchangeable. There is a reason why the National Guard is only called up as a last resort. They are trained to be absolutely lethal, not to try to keep the peace. The fact that they are being used at all for police actions is very highly concerning and a big, bright, neon flashing red flag. So when the army goes up against the police really do not have a chance, nor have they been trained to kill in a war. The police are completely outgunned. There are a few sociopaths who find their way in, and we should not be surprised if when the first standoff happens, a few of them open fire and are killed. But the police as a whole are not prepared to either kill or die for some damned insane politician. They will lay down their arms. They are peacekeepers, not soldiers trained to kill. But the real difficulty is in the militias. They are not, for the most part, created to keep the peace, but to do war in ways that are not near as constrained as formal armies. They can be led by someone who is insane, and even when not, they are likely to contain some ultra-violent psychos. When I start hearing more rumors about more of these groups forming and becoming increasingly popular, then I will know that we are closer to that time. I think clashes between some of them and actual troops will be what sets the Civil War off, triggering it. Some of the militias will not give a damn about civilian casualties, and even the ones who do will have members who simply do not. So, if this dream was from God, this is how I would interpret the message. I think God is again pointing me to the militias as both the powder kegs and the wild cards in all of this. The military is trained to follow orders. They are disciplined, but if attacked by militia members who are not like that, they will kill them in a very efficient manner. Then the politicians can be dangerous if they start calling the militia members who got killed as martyrs of their own cause. This is the method I now believe will start the war, as many from each side will be very hesitant in the beginning to actually start killing other Americans. They may not stay that way based on what actually happens and the rhetoric that the politicians choose to use. This is the basic message I want to communicate today. Next week, I will talk about some hints as to what the Civil War will be like in general terms when it starts, and what some of the major goals will end up being. Until next time, stay close to God.